Hi, I'm Irina Hall, and today we're interviewing Michael Caldwell. Michael is the co-owner of Black Airplane, and he will give us some tips on how to grow and accelerate your business. So let's get started.
Entrepreneurship, I think, it's kind of in my blood. I was raised by an entrepreneur for sure. Growing up, my dad was a sales guy who started and sold software companies. I'm a big believer. My dad growing up used to have me stand in front of the mirror, and I kid you not, from kid to adulthood, I had to stand in front of the mirror and raise my hand and say, I'm Michael Caldwell, am not a victim, I'm responsible for the consequences of my own actions. And for me, that really translated into an approach to my career from a standpoint of I didn't want to have to rely on the decisions of others when I didn't have to. And so entrepreneurship has been an opportunity to really go out and sort of build my own future. But what I've loved about it hasn't been building for my family, it's that we get to build for other people's families. So our goal here at Black Airplane, we require our employees, we tell them one of our company values is we hire people who invest in each other. And what we mean by that is not just financially and not just at work, but invest personally in one another, because the goal here is to change family trees. So how do we get people into opportunities that they couldn't have had other places? We've set up an apprenticeship program here where we bring people in who have no idea what they're doing, and we go train them through so that they can really go change their careers. And that's because we don't know how long we'll be able to do this or not do it. I mean, we're building for the longevity and building for the future, but I want to make sure that while we have the opportunity, we have the ability, that we're changing people's futures. Yeah, it's growing faster in a lot of ways than I think we even expected it to, which is a great problem. But we built for that, and it was purposeful. I think in a lot of ways where we're winning some really top tier and top line clients is in a dedication to process. We like to tease we're business people first, creative second. So the goal is always, how do we figure out what your business objective is, and how do we chase after that business objective with everything we can. And in doing that, it's really attracted a lot of top level, enterprise level clients, because I think they're used to dealing with people in our industry who are hyper focused on let's make it look as cool as we can, or let's make it do these really neat things, which are all incredibly important. It should be the baseline expectation. But getting into a mode of how do I actually go accomplish the goal that you're trying to accomplish is a whole another tier and level of delivery. And so tying that in with a hyper process oriented approach to that as well just speaks to Fortune 100. And so we've managed to be a really great partner for them, because we do silly things like set up regular flight checks, weekly check-ins on the project so that you never find yourself surprised, and making sure that we have a list of mission objectives on the front end, so that at the end we have a mutual measuring rod and metric by which we can see whether or not we achieve success. And those are the again, silly baseline expectations we should all have that turn out to be surprising in business. But at the end of the day, it's really just treating your customers as a partner, right? So how do we make sure that we feel like an extension of the team? And I don't know as how you could possibly have a successful teammate that you didn't talk to on a weekly basis, right? So making sure that we're treating ourselves as part of that team in the same way that we hope that they'll treat us as part of the team. And so we've seen a lot of success from that. And so a lot of success through word of mouth, but a lot of success from just intentionally going after the market. We have a sales team here. And the reason is I believe every organization is a sales organization, first and foremost, right? If we're not out selling and showing what we can do for the world, we're never going to get that message out. And so we've seen success through that kind of approach to the market. The simplest answer to that, I think, is if you want to get in front of a client, ask. I think too many people are too shy to ask. When I say ask, I don't mean hound them on LinkedIn with a cold, I'll increase your metrics by expert. Reach out and offer real value to somebody. It's amazing how quickly someone will respond if you have an article you think will be relevant to them. Or when you start actually treating people like people, it's incredible how quickly you can get in front of them. And recognizing that whether it's somebody at Coca-Cola or McDonald's, or somebody at the circuit or Truck and Tap, they're all people, right? And people buy from people they like and people they trust. And the faster you can convince someone that you're one of those people, the easier you're going to have doing business with them. And the only way I've found to prove that you're a person they can like and trust is to be a person they can like and trust. I find too often salespeople and just business people in general try to fool people into liking them. Just go be yourself, offer real value, and it's incredible how quickly you'll get in front of the right people. And we've seen a lot of success there. in that aspect here, simply because I believe we've got a product that's valuable, and we're willing to share it with anybody we think we can partner with. We're the first ones to say if we think we're the wrong partner, because there's no success that comes out of partnerships that don't match. And so I'd rather go find partners out there that are really great matches for Black Airplane. And the beauty of doing that is it naturally compounds. You'll have additional partners see what's happening and want to get involved. And so success breeds success. Get out there and be somebody likable and trustable, and do that by adding value to the system. It's amazing how quickly value adds back. So my favorite book on the planet is a book called Getting Things Done by David Allen. GTD for short. Getting Things Done is a productivity methodology. I'm an entrepreneur. I'm a serial entrepreneur who was the youngest state legislator elected in the United States. I like to think I'm a fairly productive guy. I've gotten a lot done over the course of a short career. And yet, about 3 years ago, I read this book, Getting Things Done, and it changed the game for me all over again. It's a methodology that relies on lists. So making sure that you have on an ongoing basis, you've got between 150 and 200 projects going on in your life. Everything from I gotta make sure I get all the light bulbs changed out in my house, to I need a brand new business plan for work. And those projects are anything that takes more than one action to do. The problem is we don't organize and actually figure out what's going on in our lives and what's the next feasible, actual, actionable step I could take towards success there. But then more importantly is tying a context to it too. So having a list that's based on, hey, these are the things I could be doing at work today here at the hangar. These are things I could be doing at home today. Because if I'm sitting here and I have a list of 200 next actions I could do, but 175 of them are things I can't do right now, that's a wasted effort to look at, right? So getting your life organized in a way where I don't have to try to keep track of that here, but I know I've got a reliable system I can look to has been huge for me. And so that's my #1 book recommendation, is Getting Things Done. I also love a book called Anti-Fragile. It's a book that talks about the idea that there's no good word in the English language, or any language for that matter, that describes the idea of the opposite of fragile. Fragile being breakable and weak. We've got robust, which would be like hardened, but the idea of anti-fragile would be stronger as it gets hurt, right? And so building your business toward this concept of being anti-fragile, the more adversity we hit, the stronger we get and then continue in, was a really interesting and fun book. I'm a big believer in routines and processes. So I wake up every morning. I actually have it's a company called Flick made a really neat little button. It's a Bluetooth button that sits on my sink, right next to my sink, that I can push, and it starts making my coffee and turns the lights on in my office. And for me, it's just this silly little early morning first step that I can do. On the mornings I'm on, I go for a run first and foremost. I find that I do my best thinking running, and it also just makes me feel better about the day. I feel like I've gotten something done first. And then I use an app called Pocket that allows me to save articles through the day that I want to read. And so the first thing I do after my run is I read through my articles in Pocket from the day before. That way, through the day, when I'm in my groove, I'm not getting interrupted by these things that are going to be interesting. I can stay out of the rabbit holes. But I start my day off with stuff that looked interesting the day before, and it's amazing how that'll prompt your thinking for the day coming up. And then from there, I jump into whatever I've prioritized the night before. So I try to get a list of 3 or 4 things that I have to get done the next day. Big believer in swallow the frog, right? Do the hard thing that you didn't want to do first, and then the rest of the day sort of feels like a downhill ride. And then I dive into my day.
We would like to thank Michael for his great advice. If you have any questions for us that you would like to have answered, please connect with us on social media and let us know. Also, feel free to check out our website at creativemusclestudios.com. Subscribe to our YouTube channel for more episodes. Stay tuned and be brave and passionate.